Yo, what's up? This is Sleet, and welcome back to another video. It has been a while, and I did miss a reaction on the City versus Leeds game, but I've just been incredibly busy recently these past couple of weeks. That doesn't matter because I am back now. I am going to give some thoughts on that game as I go through my match preview for today's game. Okay, today I am going to be doing a match preview for the Manchester City versus Arsenal game, and I'm a little bit nervous in terms of if City lose, we are in a very bad position in the league. We came into it a couple of games behind with games in hand, and we haven't really gotten the points. And it's really important that City start to get these wins on the table because we've already got a loss and a draw this year. And most years we normally will win the first 5 or 6 games before we lose, at least over the past couple of seasons. So it's a little bit worrying, and it'd just be good, especially for the confidence of the team, having experienced these tough games recently, to just go out and get a win. So first off, I'm going to start off with my predicted lineup for City. Then I'm going to probably do a predicted lineup for Arsenal. I'm not 100% sure about their fitness and such. And then at the end, I'm going to give my score prediction and the reasons I expect either team to win. So starting with City, I'm going to go with Ederson in goal. He was very, very good against Leeds. He did make the mistake off the corner that led to their goal, but overall I thought he was very good, and I think you can't really judge him on one mistake. It was raining. He's not the best at commanding his box in that way generally, and I thought he was doing well in that game up until that point, and he made a bunch of incredible saves in that game. I know City should have probably won it against Leeds. We had a couple of chances, especially near the end, but Leeds easily could have scored and won. Had it not been for Ederson, we might have conceded 3 or 4 goals. Both teams could have conceded a bunch in that game. But I'm sticking with him. Zach Steffen, he hasn't shown too much to displace him. At right back, this is kind of tricky because I think Cancelo, who has been coming back, I think it was a coronavirus thing, I'm not 100% sure, or some kind of injury, but he's back in the team now and back fit. He has been playing well for Portugal. He got an assist. He could have had another assist in that game. He kept 2 clean sheets. I'm not sure if he played both games, but I know Portugal kept 2 clean sheets. And there could be something to be said about maybe if Diaz plays at center back, he's used to playing next to Cancelo, so he should play at right back over Walker. And Walker was shaky up until recently. I thought he's been putting in better performances again for England. He was the man of the match, I think, against Belgium. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he was very decent against them, but that was more of a center back role. Ultimately, I think that Pep will stick with Walker because this is a big game and Walker is more reliable and more experienced, and I think I'd probably go with Walker, but that doesn't mean I don't want to play Cancelo. I look to left back, and I'm tempted to say that Cancelo will start at left back because of how good he's been. If you have a fullback that is doing well defensively, he's keeping clean sheets, and he's also getting forward and getting assists, scoring goals, you could argue that he should be playing and starting. So if he's not going to start at right back, he could start at left back, and he's been working on playing in that position for City, especially at the end of last season. I don't think Mendy is secure enough, and I think while he does have good aspects going forward, with the forwards I'm expecting to play, I don't think his crossing will be super valuable because we're not going to have a lot of height up top. And overall, I think that he just needs some time out of the team. I think he is a good player on his day, and he's got potential to be a top fullback, but he just can't keep starting when he's in bad form because he'll keep making mistakes and he'll keep being blamed for things. Against Leeds, he had a bad mistake and they almost scored. And afterwards, I saw Instagram comments and he was responding about how he knew he had done badly. And if you know that you're playing poorly, your confidence is clearly not there. I wouldn't just start him because he's our big star left back signing. I think that form should come into it, and I don't think he should be starting, at least for right now. I think he can come back into the team later when he's maybe got more confidence. I think Ake is another potential starter because he came on at left back, at the end of the Leeds game, and he kind of secured things. But ultimately, that's kind of setting a precedent that you don't want to attack and get forward, and I think that it would be better if Cancelo starts at least, and maybe Ake can come on if we're winning later on in the game. Okay, moving on to center backs, I think Laporte is the obvious left center back choice. He's our best defender. I think Diaz will start alongside him because despite him not really training with the team much after he was signed, he came in and he did well against Leicester. The goal wasn't something he could have prevented. He did have a really good block, sliding tackle, and overall I thought he looked decent. He seems more commanding, and we kind of need a leader at the back, so I think he'll start. And I hope he does well. I am nervous with Arsenal having Aubameyang and some of their other more creative players, but I think that City should be able to cope, especially with the signings we've made. Midfield is another tricky position for me to try and predict. I think Pep will probably go for something very different than I would. The big news for the game is that De Bruyne is not playing. He received some kind of it seemed like he was just tired and needed to rest during the international break, and then he came back to City, and then it's since been revealed that he's got some kind of injury issue and he won't be playing. Creatively, this is really tough because then you wonder, to get the same kind of output, would City play with two sort of 8s or a 10 and an 8, or would they play with more of a 6 and keep that double pivot thing we've been working with? I think Rodri will for sure start. He is a great DM and he did well for Spain recently. Alongside of him, I'm not sure what Pep's going to do. I would personally go with Fernandinho, I think, and then have Bernardo, because the difference that Fernandinho made in the game against Leicester was so evident that having those two DMs was really solid and we looked good. And then once he came off, Leicester were able to just overrun City. And I think that that's a really important thing to take into consideration. Having that extra cover and that extra help is really important, and having the experience of somebody like Fernandinho, despite his age, he can help control games. And I think Pep knows that we need somebody alongside Rodri right now to kind of keep more composed. This isn't like Rodri isn't composed, it's just the fact that Rodri isn't mobile enough yet. Or he's not mobile enough, and he's probably not experienced enough yet to know how to defensively mark both sides of the field. He is decent on whatever side he's on, but when he's in the middle and has to choose which way to go, he makes mistakes sometimes, positionally. I think Pep will go with Gundogan because Gundogan is just a player that he loves, and he's very technically good, and you kind of need that good short passing, especially with De Bruyne out, and having that kind of control when he drops back. I think you're going to have good strength if you have Gundogan and Rodri just kind of controlling and dictating the play, and we'll have a lot more possession if we go with both of them holding. In front of them, I think it'll be Bernardo in the middle. I could see Foden playing in that sort of central role, but I think that Bernardo looked decent for Portugal recently. I think he's coming a bit more back into fitness. He seems a bit more like his old self in recent games from the little glimpses we've had of him, and I think technically he is the best attacking midfielder we have other than De Bruyne. Because of the missing creativity that we're going to have because of De Bruyne being absent, I think that having Bernardo there will be the best option to sort of make up for that, and he's going to be the best at creating chances in that sort of central role. Because I expect this double pivot, that means I think we can go more attacking with our wingers rather than having a hard-working guy out wide like Foden, or having somebody like Ferran Torres who's hungry. I think Pep will probably go with Mahrez. I think I'd like to see Mahrez play because he can definitely tear at their back line. When you know that the other team has not necessarily bad fullbacks, but fullbacks that are not always the best defensively. And this could be said for their center backs as well, not the most solid center backs. If that's the case, then you should really test the players. And in our team, in a 1v1, maybe Bernardo's slightly better at it, but I think Mahrez is one of the best, if not the best, at just for the entire game, running at players and beating them consistently and causing mayhem and then getting chances because of that. So I expect him to start on the right. I think Sterling will move away from his central position back to the left. I could see Sterling being dropped maybe for Torres. I just have this feeling that because Sterling hasn't been doing the best, maybe he'll be dropped for a while to kind of rest a bit, because he's normally a super fit player. He can play almost every game in the season, but occasionally he does need to rest and kind of rejuvenate a bit. So I could see Pep maybe going for that, but I think that because it's such a big game and he's one of our best goal scorers, I think he has to start. Even with missed chances, Sterling still is somebody that gets the job done. He's going to need to play, so I think it'll be him on the left, Mahrez on the right, Bernardo in the middle, and then up top, thank God Aguero is fit. We've really missed a striker. I think Delap could have done well if he was just thrown in and given the opportunity, but that wasn't really the case. He was more just tried for the cup games and such, or brought on when we needed a goal rather than having him start and feel comfortable and confident in himself from the beginning. Instead, Pep opted to have Sterling up top, and it's not the worst choice. Sterling has done well at striker in the past. I know a lot of people were saying it was a bad idea, but his first ever career hat trick, I think, was against Bournemouth, and that came in a game where he played at striker. where he was interchasing with Jesus, and he was pretty much like a center forward or like behind the striker in that game. And from the striker position, he has scored a couple of goals. I think he scored a brace in the cup, and he's just been like decent, but he's definitely not himself through the middle. He is more prone to not try and dribble through people when he's central. He's more about positioning, and I think his positioning is good. That's why he gets so many chances, and I know he misses a lot of them, but he also scores a ton of goals. But there's something to be said about having a top striker in the team. He will strike fear into their defense. People will drop off. When you're a very experienced striker and you've got that movement, and Aguero is second to none in terms of like how he moves as a striker. You could argue about a ton of other things, but I think he is arguably the best in the world at getting chances for himself just because of how he moves and runs. Maybe Thomas Muller is another one like that, but you could argue he's not really a striker. But I expect Aguero to come in. I expect him to be very hungry because he hasn't played in a while, and he's always good to get a goal. And even if he's at like 50%, even if he's really unfit tomorrow, which I don't expect him to be, his reputation alone draws defenders to him. It creates space for other players. It makes their backline kind of fall back, drop off a bit, because you know that with somebody of his caliber, you need to be on it and defensively switched on. Looking at Arsenal, I think that their team isn't the most obvious to pick because Arteta normally likes to go with a 3 at the back / like 5 at the back thing when they're playing a top team such as Liverpool or City, and he will switch to a back 4 against like different teams. But what's really throwing this off for me is the fact that they've just signed Thomas Partey, which is a great signing in my opinion, but having that extra cover might make him feel more comfortable with a back 4. But then they received an injury recently in a key position in that like sort of situation where I'm not sure if that's like the system they're going to employ because of it. Ultimately, I think that Leno will start, and he's a very good keeper. I think he had a great season last year. But when you do put pressure on him, which City will do, he is known to give the ball away sometimes or be a little too comfortable on it. So I think that that's a potential like weak point, is like to pressure Leno. For their fullbacks, see, this is difficult because I'm not sure what kind of formation they're going to go with. I think that center back wise, you've got Gabriel, who will for sure play. I think he's been really good when he has played, and he did take him out for that first game against Liverpool, and you saw the difference that it made when he was brought back into the team by Arteta. Another sure starter in their backline is Tierney for me, but there's recently, I think, coronavirus concerns with him, and I think it was recently revealed, like maybe like this morning, that he will be fit to play, but there was a lot of like people saying yesterday he wouldn't. So because I'm not too sure about that, I'm not 100% confident in the lineup they're going to go with, but I expect Tierney to play if he's fit. So I'm just going to say Tierney. And because of that, I think they'll be more confident in a back 4, and I think it will be a back 4. And this just shows like how hard it is to predict these things and the like trouble that Pep will have in preparing for a game like this. Because with a manager like Arteta, there's so many different systems he can employ, and you've seen them be successful against us recently. So that will be in the back of his head as well. So ultimately, the back 4, I'm going to go with Tierney, left back, Gabriel next to him. I expect Luiz to play because of the experience. Even though he's not the best in a back 4 normally, he was really solid against City the last time he played Arsenal. And sometimes he really steps up in these big games and is really commanding and imposing. So I think he'll be the guy that they choose alongside Gabriel. I could see maybe somebody else like slotting in, but I think it will be him. Right back, I think will be Hector Bellerin. I think you could have Maitland-Niles have a shot, and the same with Saka for the left back position. And if this was a back 5, maybe that would be the case, and maybe it will be the case tomorrow. But because I expect a back 4, I'm going to go with more experienced fullbacks in Tierney, and I think Bellerin will play on the right. The reason I believe that they're going to play this back 4 is because of their new midfield acquisition. So I think Partey will start, and I think Arteta's comments suggested that he will play. There was questions about whether he'd play against De Bruyne, and Arteta seemed a little like coy about it, which makes me think he's going to like throw him right in. And he's like an experienced player, Partey. I think he's like 27 or so. So he'll be more than able to just like slot in and play a game like this at this like high caliber because he's used to it. Next to him, I think it will be Xhaka. I think Partey, as much as he can play that like destroying DM role, and he has played that before, I think he's more comfortable being a little more mobile, and I think it's better to take advantage of the fitness that he does have and that ability to run that he has, in letting him be a little more free. So I think he's going to be a bit more of a box-to-box, and I think Xhaka will play this like DM, deep-lying playmaker role for them. And for as many issues as he's had and as many times you can meme about Xhaka, part of that is just down to his lack of pace. I think his passing range is very, very good, and I think having somebody with a wide range of passing next to somebody who can get forward and get back and maybe run with the ball is a really good system to have, because when you have a lot of different like facets of your team and different options to take in the way that you play, the other team can't always defend it as well. They don't know what to expect, and it's not as predictable when you have that kind of range of ability in the middle. In front of them, it's difficult for me. I don't know. Arsenal don't really play with like an attacking midfielder because Ozil is like been put out of the team, and when you're looking for sort of that creativity there, they're kind of freed. They've freed that up because of the formation switch. If you're gonna switch from a back five to a back four, that center back becomes either a midfielder or an attacker, and it's kind of hard to choose. For sure, Aubameyang is their danger man. He's gonna play. I think he'll be the left winger. I think Lacazette will be the striker. He's missed a couple of big chances recently in big games, but overall, if you're going to have Aubameyang out wide and he's not playing central, he's the best option. I think he's better than Nketiah, so he should be playing at striker. I think right wing is tough because they've got two good options. I think Willian has shown throughout his Chelsea career that he looks forward to these City games. He has, on more than one occasion, done very well against City. So I could see him starting for that reason. Plus, he's got the experience. He's able to work back and get forward, and he's a hard-working player. So I think that Willian will play, but thinking about it now, because of other comments Arteta's made, I expect maybe Willian will play sort of as an attacking mid off Lacazette, and they will have Pepe on the right, because Pepe will, if you're thinking that the fullback will be Mendy, I don't think City will go with Mendy, but if we do, and you expect Mendy to play because he's played the past couple of games, then you'd go for somebody attacking like Pepe, who will get into that space behind him and will take him on multiple times a game, and I think Pepe is the man for that. Maybe that's a bit too attacking for me for Arsenal. Maybe they won't go for that. Like a quick switch would just be play Willian out wide and then play Ceballos maybe as that like attacking mid, but that's almost too defensive because they're missing that creative midfield outlet. You can't really play like a bunch of sort of box to boxes unless your team is like very up and down. So it could be Ceballos through the middle and Willian or Pepe out wide, but I think it'll be Willian behind Lacazette and then the two wingers being Aubameyang and Pepe. If I was an Arsenal fan right now, I'd probably be very confident. I know that City haven't been the best in their past couple of games. I know Arsenal have, in the past couple of months, done really well under Arteta. They've won a couple of trophies. They recently beat Liverpool. And in the league, they've won every game besides their one against Liverpool, who are the champions. So that wouldn't really like knock their confidence. So I think they'll be coming into this game confident. And I think City fans are coming into it a bit timid. But when you look at just the quality of players, even without De Bruyne, our team is just so much better than theirs. And save some kind of tactical masterclass from Arteta or Pep making some kind of glaring mistake, City should win this and be clear victors. Like, I'm expecting it to be 3-1 or like 3-2, 4-2. I think City will score a lot of goals. I think Arsenal will probably score. I'm hoping they don't. I think City will be solid with Diaz and Laporte, but depending on if Mendy plays or if Ake plays, whoever fills that left back position and what Pep ends up going for in midfield, we might be a little more defensively culpable. So it is really hard to know, but I think that City should win, and I expect it to be probably a higher scoring game. And if City don't win, that's when I think I'll start to get more pessimistic about the season, because we'll be fairly behind if Liverpool beat Everton. They might not, but if Liverpool do beat Everton and they're the standard and the goal to like chase after, you'll be, 6 points behind them? And it would have been 9 had they not lost to Aston Villa. And that's just poor from City, like to experience multiple losses at the start of the year when we're normally really solid at the beginning of the year. Anyways, that's my thoughts on the game. I expect City to win. I'm somewhat nervous, but overall I'm excited because I've missed the Premier League with all this international stuff, which is just fairly boring. If you watch all the way through, I really appreciate it. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, comment if you disagree with anything I said. Subscribe for more football or soccer related videos. I put them out whenever I can. I'm mostly focused on City, but I also do pay a lot of attention to other teams, especially in the Premier League, and I do like to comment on other things in the football world. All right, that's it for today. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you later.